Have you tried to make Polaroid transparencies and they keep turning out like this? Well, I am here to show you a very simple way that you can create Polaroid transparencies, both with black and white and color film, and get consistent results. Also, stay tuned till the end because I will show you some ways to troubleshoot it if by chance you do keep having problems when you're trying to create the transparencies. And also I want to show you some cool ways in which you can display these transparencies. Now what you will need is a Polaroid lab or a Polaroid camera, as well as some Polaroid film, scissors or box cutter, and gloves for safety, of course, as well as a hairdryer. And I highly recommend using something like a watch or your phone in order to keep the time so that you know exactly when to go on to the next step while doing this process. Now, before we get started, there are a few things that you should know. First of all, black and white film and color film, they are two different formulas, and therefore they require slightly different times for developing. I often find that it is much easier to create black and white transparencies than it is to create the color ones. Another thing is I like to use the hairdryer, especially when using color film. I find it's almost necessary and it doesn't work very well otherwise. With black and white, you don't always need the hairdryer for it. And lastly, if you are using expired film or film that has been stored improperly, you may also have a much more difficult time getting the layers to separate from each other, but it does not mean that you can't create transparencies with it. So here we are in my beautiful makeshift darkroom in my bathroom, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do this. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is print your image using your phone and the Polaroid lab. Of course, you can also use a freshly shot image from a Polaroid camera. The main thing here is that it must be fresh. Now, after about a minute and a half of developing, I usually begin to use the hairdryer, especially with colored film. Now, when it comes to the developing time, black and white film does develop faster than the color film. Therefore, it might be beneficial to reduce the amount of time that you wait by about 30 seconds to 45 seconds. The most important thing here is that the hairdryer is kept where it is hitting the entire image at a consistent level and it's getting the whole image at once. If you are too close to the image, you're going to cause the picture to overheat. And when you try to separate it, it's going to have this kind of gooey, jelly emulsion layer, and sometimes it bubbles up. Whereas if you hold it too far away or you're underheating the image, you're gonna find that it's a lot harder to get the white chemical layer to separate from the transparency. Now, once your image gets to about 2.5 minutes, go ahead and cut the image. You can cut off the entire border, or you can just use the box cutter to skim along the sides of it if you want to keep the white border. The most important thing here is just to make sure that you cut these little black tabs underneath the border, just so that you can separate the layers properly. And then once you've cut the image, you're going to carefully and slowly peel it apart. And there you have it. If you find that a lot of the chemicals are staying stuck to the emulsion layer, what you can do is put the image back together almost and heat it up a little bit longer with the hairdryer. If you use the hairdryer, it almost acts like a glue and it keeps the emulsion stuck to that plastic covering layer. And one thing you can do is you can dunk it really quickly into hot water and you'll just see how the white chemicals just lift off of the image very quickly. And you can brush them off with a paintbrush and then remove the transparency completely and let it dry. I would only dunk it if it's color film. If it comes to black and white, I would not dunk it in hot water because it is very easily affected. So it might turn into an emulsion lift where the whole thing comes off. Alternatively, either wait for the image to dry and try to brush it off with a dry paintbrush, or the other option would be dunk the paintbrush into the hot water and then try and wipe off the chemicals that way. Now, once you have your transparencies all set, there are a few different ways you can display them. One way is to put something on the back of them, like a piece of acrylic glass or plexiglass. You can also add a colored piece of paper, which would kind of give it this duochrome background, which looks really cool, especially with black and white images. You can also layer the different pictures together to create another type of look. Here is an example of something that I've done with multiple layers here. If you haven't already, please be sure to check out my other tutorial on Polaroid emulsion lifts. Also, I will be soon bringing to you another video to show you exactly how to create transparencies using Fujifilm's Instax film. Also, if you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Erin, and happy experimenting.